Growing up as a first generation daughter is a very unique experience. On the one hand, you're one personality and one nationality when you are at home. You're eating the food from your culture, you're speaking the language, and you're even still connected with your native country. But then when you step out into society, you're categorized as an African American and you're treated as such. And then on top of that, you have to fulfill this expectation of being a model minority. Both identities have a very high expectation, which eventually ends up being very heavy for us. And you end up finding when we become adults, we become workaholics and perfectionists. And it is because of these high expectations. For example, we are taught to be incredibly obedient, good girls. You always have to follow an authority figure. And if you don't follow what your parents tell you, there are severe consequences to that. So not only do you get reprimanded, in some cases you may get hit. In other cases, you may be threatened to be sent home to your native country. For a child or a young adult who's growing up with parents that way, you're going to really internalize that it's a very severe consequence if you don't obey authority. Okay. Another thing that's really instilled in us is this idea of perfectionism and not making mistakes. You are not allowed to make mistakes. You have to be making those straight A's. And if you're not, you get berated at home. Your parents really have those high expectations because when they migrated to this country, they left behind a lot. They sacrificed a lot. And that pressure gets internalized in us at a very young age. When you make the mistakes, you're either met with yelling, screaming, humiliation. Other family members are notified about it. If you belong to a religious institute, they tell the religious institute, the priest, and then you're constantly given this criticism by everyone in your village. And so that gets internalized very deeply as if I make mistakes, I'm not of value, I'm not wanted. There's a deep shame that comes with that. Along to add to the deep shame, then you have that constant inner criticism because you're constantly criticizing, having this inner dialogue of criticism that the way that you appear, the way that you show up, the way that your hair is, using those metrics of anti-Blackness and anti-oppression, our families inadvertently continue that. And so then that gets internalized with us constantly criticizing ourselves as we grow up. And so the offering here is to really consider the ways that our families had internalized these values and seeing that these values are no longer necessary or healthy for you to embody anymore, and to start looking at different and healthier ways that you can exist, develop your value outside of your appearance, starting to be softer with yourself when you make mistakes, learning that you are a human being and that you're still of value if you do things imperfectly. You can still work without overkilling yourself, right? Practicing that ability to listen to yourself and really start to see what are healthy values that were internalized and which are the ones that you need to create new beliefs and